Hi, and welcome to Northwest Brew Talk. I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Michelle Rizzo.
And this is our silver anniversary. It's episode number 25.
Woo!
Each week we promote the Washington brewing industry by talking to those people involved and drinking Washington beer. With almost 300 breweries, we try to highlight as many as possible every episode. If you are new to the show, we suggest you check our back catalog with some great reviews or interviews and lots of Washington beer. On today's show, we have an interview with Iron Horse Brewery, our brew news and views, and local music from Aradia.
If you have any comments or questions, send us an email to nwbrewtalk@gmail.com. We are on Twitter at nwbrewtalk and on Facebook at facebook.com/nwbrewtalk. If you like the show and want to support us, why not become a patron? With a donation, we offer everything from a guest hosting the show to a copy of our upcoming book, Washington Beer. Head over to nwbrewtalk.podbean.com for more details. To start the show, let's open our first beer.
Okay, we have batch 15 IPA from Aslan Brewing in Bellingham.
Aslan Brewing Company opened their doors in 2014 and have a commitment to keeping their ingredients organic and local. They're located in Bellingham. They serve lunch and dinner for both kids and adults. They are open 7 days a week. Very good smelling.
Yeah, that is super citrusy, super hoppy. That is a very light colored. Look at that.
Oh, wow, yeah.
You don't see too many IPAs that are that light.
The batch 15 IPA has a 7% ABV, 65 IBUs, medium body, piney, and citrusy, and bitter. Sounds like your perfect beer.
It is pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good beer. Boy, if you looked at it, though, you wouldn't know that it was an IPA.
Yeah, you're right.
Honestly, you'd think it was a Coors Light or something.
Well, it obviously doesn't have that taste, though.
Oh, not anywhere near that. All right. That's a good beer. I like that. And now onto our brew news and views.
Topping this week's brew news and views, Skagit Valley College in Mount Vernon announced they started a craft beer and spirits trade curriculum. There are 14 courses in the certificate program, including biochemistry, wort production, history, and an internship. One of the people behind the program is Allen Rhoades.
There had been conversations, I guess it might have started at the Washington State Extension. There was they have a grain meeting every year, and there was some people from the brewing community that were interested in new barleys, and there's a malting company, brand new malting company in Skagit County,
right?
And the Kenny Lawson and some other people from the college, Skagit Valley College, were there, and a bunch of brewers. And I think during that conversation, we had heard about other schools that were starting brewing programs, and we were talking about how few programs were generating brewers that would be entry-level brewers.
Okay.
A lot of the programs were... So we identified kind of just in a haphazard discussion the lack of trained entry-level brewers, that most brewers, start either as home brewers or they walk into a brewery with no experience and are trained from the ground up at a specific brewery, and there's some positive and negative implications there, and we thought that we could create a program that would be short enough so there isn't a whole lot of time and specifically monetary commitment that would generate an entry-level brewer that could walk into a job that doesn't pay head brewer wages, and that they could at least have a step stool to step from, when they walk into a brewery and ask for a job.
Right.
So it kind of started like that, and then Kenny brought together a bunch of people from the industry and a focus group, and we all kind of had that same discussion a little bit more in depth, and we all agreed that there was a need for, in the growth industry that we're in, a need for entry-level people. So that's how we started, creating the class, and then we've watered it down to, not really watered it down, but shortened it to an academy model. So it's only like 3 months long. Okay,
well, that's cool. Yeah, I see they do everything from brewing history to like backgrounds on style and taste, and you get a little bit of everything from QC to finally an internship. And do you have breweries that are going to participate in that?
We have, Brian Kruger from Boundary Bay, myself from Anacortes Brewery, and Tony from Flyers we're kind of putting the course together, and we are putting the course together. And so we know our breweries are interested in having internships, but I put out a questionnaire a couple months ago when we just started the program, and there was at least 20 breweries that had expressed interest in hiring interns for the last portion of the program.
Okay, that's great.
So, and that's, that was like the Seattle area.
Right.
So we think we have enough participation, and we're looking at like 12 to 20 students, maybe 15 students in the first class. So we feel pretty comfortable that we're going to find an internship for each one of them. Okay,
great. And are everybody teaching in the courses, are they all industry people?
Yeah, for the most part. The three of us will be focusing on a lot of the teaching, but we'll be bringing in other industry professionals that have experience in certain things that we don't. There are other, like laboratory people, people that work in labs at bigger breweries. We'll invite them to come teach part of the course, or anyone that has a focus that we don't have. And also, it's a significant amount of hours, and we still have to have jobs as brewers ourselves. So
yeah, exactly.
We'll be splitting that up with quite a few different industry types. So it'll be great.
Okay, awesome. And they are accepting people for this fall, aren't they?
No, the course doesn't start till spring next year.
Okay. All right. So are they? Yeah. So are they accepting applications now for that?
Not yet.
Okay.
And I'm not quite sure when that application process starts.
Okay.
But it won't be out there till the spring catalog. So.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much, Allen Rhoades, Anacortes Brewery, and talking about the new program that's going to be starting up in the spring at Skagit Valley College.
Yeah, and if anyone's interested, they can get a hold of the Skagit Valley College and get an idea for time frame and methodology to sign up for the course.
All right, that sounds like it's going to be a great program there at Skagit Valley College. So definitely looking forward to seeing how that progresses down the road.
Absolutely. Since this is episode number 25, our silver anniversary, and we are smack dab in the middle of summer, we thought we'd do a little summer fun. There's a number of ways to visit breweries across the state, and we thought we would highlight some of the tours you can take to explore the breweries across the Northwest. Part of the fun and excitement we have, especially here in Washington, is driving to find a new brewery. When we took a weekend trip to Yakima, we looked at the map at WashingtonBeer.com to see which breweries were along the way. They have a nice feature when you click on the breweries tab on their website. You can pick a region in the state and see a Google map of where they're located, or you can pick a region and see a list of breweries and click on the map. When you've clicked all the breweries you want to visit, you create My Brewery Tour, and a custom tour is created for you. It works best on a cell phone.
That's awesome. Ale trails are another way you can take a self-guided brewery tour. The point of this is you get a map, and every brewery that is included stamps your map or your passport. So after you fill it out by visiting a specified number of breweries, you get a prize. We're going to start with the Inland Northwest Ale Trail, As the name suggests, this is located in the Spokane area. This map is the largest with 27 different breweries on it, many in Washington, but quite a few are over the border in Idaho. The goal is to pick 12 of the 27 breweries, visit the breweries, and when it's open, of course, have a pint or more, and then you get your map stamped. When you get your 12th stamp, you can turn in your map for a free 32-ounce growler. There are a few breweries way out of Spokane, including up in Republic and Kettle Falls, as well as western as far as Yakima.
There are several companies offering brewery tours that include sampling the beer. Road Dogs Tours is probably the biggest company offering brewery tours. They have the join-in tours, which are open at 10:30, 2:30, and 6 o'clock daily. Each tour visits 3 breweries in about 3 hours. Each tour is slightly different based on, quote, feedback from the group during reservation making and the best selection of breweries available for that day, unquote. You also get a Road Dogs t-shirt and souvenir pint glass. They also offer a Double Dogs tour where you do 2 tours in a row. They say on their website that few have made the full trip and only 12 photos show that. The Triple Dog tour is taking all 3 tours in one day. Only 3 photos there. If you tell them beforehand you're attempting one of these day-long events, they'll give you a 50% discount on the second tour and possibly the third tour. Apparently, few people have accomplished it, so if you have a day and want to visit 6 or 9 breweries, and have a designated driver, of course, go for it. Visit SeattleBreweryTour.com or RoadDogTours.com.
Sounds like a good time. I don't know if we could do 9 tours.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
9 breweries. That's a whole day of drinking. Now, the next one we're going to talk about the Bellingham Tap Trail in Whatcom County. This one operates similar to the Inland Northwest Trail. What you do is you collect a passport and you start visiting the locations on the map. Almost all the breweries up in Bellingham are on the map, but the rest are made up of taverns and bottle shops where you can pick up a pint and get your passport stamped. Once you have filled up the 16 spaces on your passport, you get a Tap Trail pint glass. If you only get 8 filled, you still get a gift. You can collect a bottle opener that looks like a bicycle. Breweries in the Gorge is the other major trail map. This one just started earlier this year and includes 10 breweries in the Columbia River Gorge area on both sides of the border, Oregon and Washington. In fact, 7 of the 10 breweries are in Oregon, but since they are so close, it would still be worth the time. If you visit 8 of the 10 breweries, you get a collector's pint glass. That means if you are in Washington, you have to visit Oregon and vice versa. So they got some good stuff that you can do, especially on these summer months, taking these different tours, whether you do them yourself or, on like road dog tours.
Yeah.
So definitely some good stuff. And that will do it for our brew news and views this week.
Welcome back to Northwest Brew Talk. If you want to submit news to Northwest Brew Talk, send us an email to nwbrewtalk@gmail.com. Or if you've not yet subscribed to our podcast, why not do it now? It's free, available anywhere you listen to podcasts, including iTunes, Podbean, and Stitcher. If you like us, a review or rating would be really appreciated. But make sure to tell your friends about Northwest Brew Talk.
That's right. And let's do a quick review here. Recently, this past weekend, we went to Bellingham and we stopped at Boundary Bay Brewery. We were impressed. I think from the beginning to the end. I don't think there was much that we didn't like.
No, it was nice. The menu was small, but had a lot of different options that you don't always see on menus. I mean, we just had the lunch menu, of course, but.
Yeah, but the different options also were a lot of local foods.
Yeah, absolutely.
They buy a lot of their stuff locally, and very kid-friendly.
And huge. I was surprised at how much space there was in there.
Yeah, the place was big. We sat outside. It was nice out, and service was great. Of course, their beer is great. So there was really nothing that we could say bad about the place at all.
No, not at all.
And like we said, it was kid-friendly too, so that's always good, especially for us. Now, let's talk to Jared Vallejo from Iron Horse Brewery. We're here with Jared Vallejo from Iron Horse Brewery. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Thanks for stopping by.
Great, thank you. So, we'll talk a little bit about the brewery here in Ellensburg. We're actually at the production facility.
Yeah.
So what came first, this or the tap room?
So this production facility we've been in since 2012. We were at an incubator across town, and that's where the brewery was started back in 2004 by a guy named Jim Quilter. And he was brewing beer. He made Irish Death, which is why Quilter's Irish Death, which we're most known for, right? It still sticks around, and we kept that recipe. In 2007, the Parkers, Greg and Gary Parker, came over and kind of did a joint partnership. And then shortly thereafter, Jim Quilter went to Gary, who's the father in the picture, and said, I cannot work with Greg. I cannot work with him at all. So buy me out, and they did. And since 2007, late 2007, that's when the Parkers have fully owned Iron Horse Brewery, as we know it.
So is that where 9th anniversary comes from?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Based on their kind of revitalization of the brand and taking it in a different direction.
So who's the brewer?
Our head brewer is Tyson Reed.
Okay.
He's actually Ellensburg native who, at the time when the brewery started to need a head brewer, because Greg was doing most of the brewing, and they wanted to hire out a head brewer. Tyson was down at UC Davis doing their brewing program, which is, we make fun of them, we call it the Harvard of brewing programs, and so he was, right when he graduated, a position opened up for Iron Horse. So, how weird that happened, to be from Ellensburg and have a brewery open here. So
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so 2010, I think, is when Tyson Reed came on.
Okay, great.
Full time.
So, we're just trying your Disruptor IPA, so why don't you tell us what this is about?
Well, this beer is, I don't know if you've ever heard of this style before. We probably haven't, since we are declaring that we invented it. But it's amazing when you take a bunch of hops and put them in the boil, and after the boil and in fermentation, it creates this incredible aroma and flavor and taste. So we're like, let's name this beer. Let's call it an intense pale ale or an IPA. So Iron Horse just invented the IPA. No, obviously being cheeky and ridiculous. IPAs just continue, despite our counter thinking and the fact that our lead beer, which is Irish Death, is a malt forward beer. IPAs are just dominating the marketplace, as you know. So we just thought we'd try to throw our hat in a different type of recipe, messing some formulation. This beer has 5 different hops, and it's about 5 pounds per barrel in the ingredients, and it's good. And you're tasting it. You're the first to really taste it. So
yeah, it's good.
You win.
I like IPAs.
Yeah, me too.
And this is pretty good.
Yeah.
So Irish Death is one that we have had on our show before. After you said the name, I recalled. And so you're one of the breweries that's tried to stay away from IPAs. You don't want to be.
Yeah, I think it's one of the Irish Death is one of these beers that it just keeps going. It just keeps, and I think it surprises anybody that's not a dark beer drinker. They'll try it and they actually become a dark beer drinker because of Irish Death, or they don't like stouts or porters, even though Irish Death is neither of those. It just keeps going, and it's, no matter what we do. Weirdly enough, we're lucky in the fact that it is the number one 22-ounce selling bottle in Washington State.
Really?
Yeah, and that's that's not. It's just a surprise. Like, wow, we're lucky.
Yeah.
We are fortunate that that's happening, despite all the IPAs out there and all the other market. It just keeps doing it, and considering the great level of beer that's out there, it's we're humbled by that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sure.
So when before you built the bigger production facility, how big was the system?
So here's what's funny. We're still on a 15-barrel system. We were on a 15-barrel system over at the incubator, moved over here, and stayed on that 15-barrel system, but we added another kettle to kind of help offset that a little bit. And that improved production. Went from 2 brews in 16 hours to 4 brews in 20 hours.
Okay.
Currently, we're still on that same 15-barrel system. brewers are going 24 to 28 brews a week.
Wow.
Cranking it out. And by the end of the year, we're in the process of having a new Braucon system come in. I think it's a 30-barrel system.
Okay.
We just bought a canning line, and this building will have changed because we're adding another, I think, 5,000, 6,000 square feet to the space. So,
wow.
Yeah, we're growing at a pace. Largely because there's a guy over there, Dane Williams, who we brought on he used to work for the big guy. He's come on and just helped with our off-premise placements, and he's crushing it. Yeah. He brings a lot of enthusiasm to the brewery for sure.
So when you've got people that want it, you have to make it.
Yeah.
So,
it's happening.
So are you going to keep the 15 going still?
I think I think initially we'll do it, and it might just be becoming. There's talk about making it just the exclusive other batch.
Okay.
And letting Irish Death and some of our higher volume beers take that. Otherwise, we might just get rid of it and sell it off and keep it. But yeah,
Nice.
It's fully automated, so some of the brewers are excited that they can just wake up at 5 a.m., log into their computer, hit start from their beds, and then come back. Yeah, so there's some automation to that.
There's the grain and everything. From
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, that gets it going.
Wow, nice.
How are you?
Whether that's fully true, I don't know, but
Yeah, you'll find out.
yeah, exactly.
There's usually some things to work on at the beginning too.
Yeah.
So how many barrels per year are you guys doing?
Well, we finished the year, finished 2014 with just under 14,000. I think we're on pace to do about 18,000, 19,000. Yeah. And then it depends on what happens. Dane Williams, who was putting ice into a cup because it's so hot.
Yes.
Somebody has to around here, right?
Yeah,
How you doing?
Mike, yours up.
Very nice to meet you, sir. Dane Williams.
And you're being recorded right now, just so you know.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Very nice to meet you.
If he has his way, we'll get up to like 32,000 barrels by the end of 2017.
Actually, end of 2016, depending on what we do with product innovation, can innovation.
Really?
So we identify Irish Death going into a 6-pack 12-ounce can at about 7,500 to 10,000 barrels increase. So at a click of around 35,000 or 35% increase based off of where we're at this year, combined with maybe possibly going into cans with Irish Death, we look to be around 32,000 to 35,000 barrels.
Wow.
Yeah.
So significant jump.
Yeah.
So why not just go to 100% growth year over year?
Yeah.
Right. With one package variation.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
Canning,
And it was not nuts. So.
Do you have a bottle line now?
We do.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, bottle line, can line.
They bottled 2 weeks ago 3,200 cases in 1 week.
Yeah, this month is scheduled to be our number one month ever as a brewery by about $500, which our previous largest month was October of 14.
Wow.
And so we just continue to clip. So a lot of it has to do with the channel shift that we're seeing. We were dominant in the on-premise with of a mix of about 80% to 85% in the on-premise, which is all your restaurants and bars, to 15% in the off. And we're seeing through authorizations as well as a focus within our wholesalers to the off-premise. So for the first time ever, our draft to package mix, which is virtually your on to off, the draft was under 60%, so it was around 58% of the mix. So we're seeing that shift within the first 6 months of the year, which is driving the sales.
And just to be clear, because this is going on a podcast, we don't let Dane talk too much corporate talk.
Yes.
He's unleashing right now.
Yes.
But,
No more corporate talk. Yeah, that's why we put him in front of
keep it down. Keep it down.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's been fantastic. And it makes everybody's job easier knowing that just the right trajectory. Except for the brewer. Except for Tyson. He's like, I can't brew 40 brews a week.
Yeah.
So. But that's why we're doing all what we're doing from an infrastructure standpoint with getting the new brew house, got the new canning line, putting a strategy together for cans, understanding our hop needs. We've sat down with some hop providers over the last 3 weeks to put 5-year contracts in place because we anticipate with the boom of craft beer continuing, hops is going to be what it's going to come down to. If we keep having the water years like we're having, again, people that have the hop contracts are going to be the ones that continue to overcome the challenges. So,
right.
I think you take those three things, and then that just you continue to see that consumer clamor for more different, unique variety, and we feel like we've got the right pieces in place to accommodate
and they really want more IPA.
Yeah, it's
weird.
crazy.
It's just weird.
Do you get? Is that why you did this? Do you get more demand for it? People asking where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's just it doesn't
You just look
matter.
at the numbers.
Yeah.
You just look at the data, and then you look at just the anecdotal requests and beer festivals and all sorts of things. It's just what's your IPA? Where's another
Right.
IPA? Like,
Right.
well,
And not only that, but then I don't know what Jared talked about, but the session IPA.
Yeah.
Session is that other category. So you combine the two, and Finger Gun is why the success we're seeing with that package, as well as in a can. You work into the summer. Pacific Northwest is such an outdoor occasion-based environment. So you hit those three things, and it makes sense why it's doing so well.
Yeah. So you think the cans are going to be real big?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's proving it to be.
Yeah.
We projected about 1,000 cases a month or so for Finger Gun, and we're blowing that out of the water.
Oh, really?
And the only reason why we haven't is because we haven't got the new canning line up. We're outsourcing the canning today, and then the hop needs.
Right.
So we've addressed both those dynamics, and now it's really as many hops as we can get, and the 15-barrel system can hold us.
Right.
It's crazy. Yeah. You look at brewers that have been in the craft industry for many, many years, like Alaska Brewing. I was up in Alaska a couple months ago, and they're coming out with cans. They've always been in bottles for so many years, right? So when you see something, people that have been in the industry that long, it gives you validation that you're doing the right things. So we couldn't be more happy.
Yeah. We've seen that. We've talked to people too. Same thing. And cans have always been the bad thing. You know,
Right.
everybody thought bottles were the way. You know, if you got good beer, they're in bottles. But people are starting to understand the difference. That it doesn't have to be a corporate beer to be in a can.
And I think that's the education that really needs to happen, is the fact that a canned beer is a better, and the integrity of the beer is kept that way. And
Right.
I think we are starting to see some of that understanding, but it certainly could spread. 'Cause
Right.
There's people you talk to, like, the aluminum or whatever, and like, well, you wouldn't be able to tell. You pour it into a glass.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, and again, Tyson, our brewer, will sit here and defend that fact that a can blocks all sunlight.
Right.
Right? So it maintains the integrity of the product.
Yeah.
It should be longer.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it makes complete sense. And then from the environmental standpoint,
Right.
it's so much easier.
It's crushable and
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
carried out.
So, where are you?
Likeable.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Are you from the west side or on the east
Yeah.
side?
Yeah.
Nice.
We're from northern west side.
Nice.
So yeah.
Cool.
So what do you guys do? Do any specialty beers?
So we just we have another beer that's coming out at the same time, the Disruptor. It's based on a Dutch Coot. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's based. The premise of that is it has to be at least 45% oat malt.
Okay.
So that's called Coitus, because why not? And so it's good. We tend to deviate from styles like a lot of brewers do now.
Right.
But so we add a little more hoppy to it to get a little bit of character. But it's got some tart, it's a little grainy, but I don't know. It's a delicious tasting beer, and it's a different style. That oat malt really kind of makes it a creamy and a robust kind of flavor to it. So that's also hitting the shelves. And so what do we have? Our Irish Death, High Five Heffy, which is our honey ginger wheat. That's a big seller during the summer. That's also available in cans, 22-ounce bottles of cans. And then a handy brand guide to remind us what beers we have.
Oh, there you go.
And we have an Iron Horse IPA, which, what a boring name that is. But it seems to work.
Like Disruptor, you would think that would be taken by somebody already.
Yeah, it wasn't.
So
no. One of the first things naming is the hardest part, and I'm sure you've heard this from other brewers. It is the worst part about this.
Mm-hmm.
And you start out this really ridiculous and insane ideas, and then it's always a Google check, and then it's a patent check or a trademark check, and but it wasn't taken, so we looked out on that.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, neither was Coitus for a beer. I don't understand why, but
you guys like to play a little. like your name and stuff,
Yeah.
like like Disruptor and everything, and your artwork and everything. Everything's just in your text, your marketing aspect. You don't like to be just straightforward.
I think the if I were to communicate what the point of Iron Horse Brewery is we are haphazard at everything except the beer that we make and the tools we use to make it.
Okay.
We take the beer process very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a hop gun from Braucon that takes the dry hopping process, it stuffs it all in, and all the beer goes through it, as opposed to just traditional dry hopping that comes up. It's really increased the aroma of all our beers.
Oh, really?
And then we have the centrifuge that spins at 6,500 RPMs to get rid of the extra sediment and clarifies the product, so we don't have to. We never want to filter our beer, and so that really helps clarify the product and prevents that little sediment buildup you see in 22-ounce bottles that we used to have that issue. But everything else, we don't really take anything very seriously, just because it's it's more fun. It's more fun to play. Our current, we were coming up with some shelf strips, and one of them for the Irish Death I think I was telling you that Irish Death is the number 122, so we're the 0 award-winning, number 1 selling, beer in Washington State. It's
nice.
Kind of a weird thing to tout, but
have you ever entered it?
No, we don't.
No, you don't enter.
We don't do it. Greg wrote a pretty long blog post about why we don't do it, and ultimately it's just if you want to win an award, you're going to have to want to win an award. We're not about that. The reward is when people are drinking our beer and having a good time. And we've met people on both sides. Yeah.
Same thing. It's like if customers are buying our beer, then we know we're making beer that people like.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's other ones that love the awards because they make, like, a lot of times they make the style, and to them it's important.
Yeah. I think, and I think there's merits to that for that. I think when we start looking at philosophically over why is that important, or is it important at all, like that acknowledgement that, hey, there's a great beer, but I don't know that the metal system is necessarily the right way to necessarily acknowledge that.
Well, like you said, number 1 selling no metal beer, so it's tough to argue with that. Yeah. Or the number of barrels you're going to be producing within a couple of years. Yeah, it's tough to argue with that.
It's so weird. So Washington State, we're number 5.
Okay.
But that gap between 1, 2, and 3 is pretty wide. I think there's 50,000, 38,000, 32,000, and then there's a 15,000, and then us at just under 14 for last year. So it's a big gap.
Yeah.
It's exciting though to be part of that, be part of this industry, and I don't know. I think we're lucky.
Yeah. What brought you to it?
I was Greg's neighbor.
Okay.
I made fun of his website. I'm like, it's horrible, and it needs to be mobile. This was back in 2009.
Okay.
It's still horrible today. It needs to be updated, and so somehow I managed to work my way in, but not actually do the work that I was saying I would do. So I got lucky there.
So you got in. Yeah. Website's terrible. Hire me. We'll fix that another
time. So initially just a little bit of labor for beer exchange, and then I was working for a different company. And then my wife was like, we can't pay the mortgage with beer, so we should probably figure out a different strategy.
Yeah.
So I came on full time in mid 2012.
Okay.
Yeah. So before that I was just doing some consulting, a little bit of work that way.
So have you contributed? I mean, have you made a difference in?
Oh boy, that is. If anything, I've taken this place. Any influence I have is just taking it downhill. It was probably on a proper trajectory, and I made it worse. I guess you could say there's a team of us in marketing.
Sure.
And, but the thing that I'm pretty adamant about is that as many touch points as we can, whether it's a small little thing on the label, on our glassware, signage, or whatever, that there's a degree of amusement or irreverence across the board. So I think I'm generally sarcastic, and I just want to spread that as far and wide as we possibly can. So is Greg. I mean, it's the voice of Iron Horse Brewery stems from his
Right.
general approach to life. And fortunately, we see eye to eye on that,
Yeah.
so it's pretty easy to execute on those ideas.
That's
But
good.
Yeah, but yeah, we're all the same here. We're almost, I hate to say it, especially in a podcast format, but we refer to each other as cousins as opposed to just coworkers, because it really is family-like, you know.
Mhm.
Not quite close enough that you would talk about things you shouldn't talk
No.
about, but you know, cousins. Like, oh yeah, I remember cousin, whatever.
It's good.
Yeah.
But yes, I have to say that your brewery history actually has some history on your website
Mhm.
versus most breweries that have no history
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, it's partly because some are really new. They're just starting out.
Yeah.
The idea of like starting a garage and do this kind of thing. And Greg was in Bozeman, Montana, and he was working with Bozeman Brewing, just
Okay.
learning how to brew. And then this Jim Quilter had just said, "Hey, I'm looking for a partner or whatever." And so he called his dad, who used to own Napa Parts Store,
Okay.
and said over on the west side, like, "Dad, I don't want to be in Napa. Let's buy a brewery. We don't know how to do this whatsoever. Well, let's do it." And they said, "Let's go for it." And that's the brewery mantra as a whole. Like, just try, just go
Right.
forward. We went through the last. You can just interrupt me and tell me to stop talking.
No, we're good.
We went through an exercise for the last year about really identifying what the brewery's about.
Mhm.
And there's a book by Ty Montague called True Story. And you do this thing where you talk about, you research your customers, you research the the stage, and you research who your staff are, and that helps define kind of what your quest is and what your purpose is.
Mhm.
And it'll help us arrive at 5 words that we do make all our decisions against.
Mhm.
Fearless. Is anything we're doing, is it fearless? Is it deliberate? Irreverent? Unconventional? And then, most importantly, does it have the possibility of being a huge F up? Because if it does, then we're on the right path. Because we know without failure, there's no real risk, and
Mhm.
you want risk, I think. So
Nice.
it's been fun, and that's why I enjoy working here. And I think
Right.
that's why we're at 35 plus employees. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, so they seem to all adopt to it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let me ask you one more thing. What do you think makes your beers stand out? I mean, gotta be some reason.
Yeah, that's a good question. One, we've been asked that a few
Mhm.
times, and like why our beer. So if we look at Irish Death, it is unique in the marketplace. There's other dark beers. There's other, slightly similar styles. Because ours doesn't have a style, but that malt forward approach, I think, really is differentiating. And then I would probably just have to say it is a little bit of the branding and the approach around it. It's so counterintuitive to buy a beer with a giant skull on it,
Yeah.
and yet people are taken by it across any demographic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, you get your 22-year-old a male to 42-year-old female,
Mhm.
the 70-year-old grandmother.
Mhm.
It gets consumed across the board.
Hmm.
And in fact, I don't know if it's still on here. Yeah,
Hmm.
my grandpa drinks 2 kinds of beers: Keystone Light and Irish Death. I mean, if that doesn't tell you,
That's a huge variance.
yeah, it's huge, and
Yeah.
we get comments like that all the time. So it's definitely the quality of the beer.
Yeah.
Our head brewer, when he came on, he was on initially as an assistant. When he came on, he immediately proved efficiencies by like 30%.
Oh, really?
So he came on as the head brewer.
Mhm.
Like, we can do this,
Mhm.
while maintaining and
Yeah.
actually improving some of the quality standards. So it's pretty good. I think we're lucky. It's good. I mean, it's good tasting beer. I think the beer making, it's hard to screw it up, but you definitely know when it is, and I think we're pretty consistent. I think that's probably our biggest strength in the quality of the product. Yeah, I could go on and talk about how wonderful marketing is, but it's probably the beer. So.
Well, you brought up women. I know I said
Yeah.
that was the last question, but women.
Yeah.
We were at the festival last weekend.
Oh, okay, yeah.
At least 50% women
Yeah.
that are buying craft beer.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
it's incredible. I mean, and we know, like, you know, in grocery store purchases, the data says that, you know,
Right.
most of the women do the purchasing.
Mhm.
Which, you know, my wife, she loves our beer, and she loves Iron Horse. But she goes, your branding, I wouldn't necessarily pick up. So we probably are missing a little bit of a demographic.
Okay.
But that's okay. But we know that women tend to buy, and we've seen that increase, which is fantastic. I think, you know, just beer for everybody.
Right.
Our general mission is that it's craft beer for everyone. You know, so we won't really stop producing beer until there's a craft beer in everybody's hands, and whether it's our own or it's another, you know, brother brewery making stuff, we just want to see craft dominate. And
Sure.
we're starting to see that happen. I think I saw some numbers that who was it? AB just lost like 30 million in this last quarter or something like that. So,
Yeah.
you know, not that I'm rooting for anybody to fail, but
No.
I'm rooting for our success more.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and the whole craft side of it is definitely taking chunks out of the mega breweries.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun. I mean, it's a fun business to be in. It's a fun industry to be in. We're not saving baby seals by any means.
I know.
So it's sometimes that's what it gets. People get a little stodgy about what they're doing.
Mhm.
You're making beer.
Yeah.
Just enjoy and let's move on. You know.
Yeah. Awesome.
So.
Thanks to Jared for joining us today. It was a great interview, hearing what Iron Horse is up to. They are going to be one of the biggest breweries in the state in just a couple of years.
Yep.
So we're looking forward to watching their future.
Yeah.
And we'll be right back after a local music break from Aradia.
I am so grateful to have so many opportunities. Now if I could just figure out this love thing, my life would be complete. Terrible timing often makes things end up just as they should be. Who knows how things might have turned out if they'd happened differently. Don't get out of control. Better slow your roll. Don't get out of control. Better slow your. We are not Vulcan. Why must we only do what's logical? Do we not realize that we shut out so much that is magical? Didn't we have fun when the world was ours and all was gold and blue? Right up to this day, I still haven't found anything quite like you. Get out of control. Better slow your roll. Get out of control. If you slow your. Get out of control. Better slow your roll. I won't get out of control if you slow your roll.
That was Slow You Roll by Aradia. You can check her out at aradia.bandcamp.com. If you want to have your music played on Northwest Brew Talk, contact us today. And now we're going to try another beer. This time we have a porter by Snipes Mountain Brewing.
That's right. And I will open that.
Snipes Mountain Brewing is located in Sunnyside, and they've been open since 1997, so they've been around for quite a while. They're open 7 days a week and are kid-friendly. Their menu includes anything from pizza to seafood.
All right.
That looks good.
As soon as you open it, definitely get a chocolate aroma.
Yeah.
And super dark. This is very dark. You can barely see through this one.
Their description on their website starts just that way. Very dark in color. This beer features a dark roast and a slightly smoky flavor with just a hint of chocolate. This porter won a gold medal at the 2005 Great American Beer Festival.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's good.
That may be 2004 Great American Beer Festival. That may be a typo there.
Oh, that's okay. 2004, 2005.
A winner.
Yes, definitely. And a gold, you said.
Yeah, gold medal. Style is robust porter. Color is black. ABV is 6.3%.
It's interesting. Aftertaste, I almost taste like a coffee or a dark chocolate.
Yeah.
But I actually like that. That's good.
Wow. Yeah. I don't think that's ever... Usually your porters you say are good beers, but
yeah, they're not my favorite.
But don't usually
that's good. I like that.
Enjoy them like you do your IPAs.
Yeah, definitely. But that's another good one. We got 2 really good ones today.
I top that.
All right, welcome to a new segment. This is called I Tap That. And what we're going to do in this segment is highlight new beer releases. Now, to kick off the segment, we have the Pale Ale, project number 4 from Icicle Brewing Company in Leavenworth. Last summer, they brewed 3 different Pale Ales and continue with number 4 this summer. This Pale Ale uses hops, malt, water, and the secret ingredient is wheat. The other beer is Chaos Kolsch. As the frigid water of Icicle Creek tumbles down the canyon, pouring over boulders, churning in eddies, foam and froth billowing from beneath, it dreams of one day becoming the greatest beer ever. A German-style ale that delicately balances subtle fruit flavors and aromas with a subdued maltiness. A beer that's fresh like an alpine spring and as crisp as a mountain breeze. It dreams of brewing up to be the refreshing Chaos Kolsch. Again, that's from Icicle Brewing Company in Leavenworth. 5% ABV and 21 IBUs. And that's I Tap That for this week. And that brings us to the end of Northwest Brew Talk.
Make sure to tune in next week when we chat with Peddler Brewing in Seattle.
This show is produced and edited by me with engineered help from Michelle Rizzo.
If you want to contact us, you can email us at nwbrewtalk@gmail.com or give us a call at 541-595-TALK.
And until next time, I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Michelle Rizzo.
Stay hopping, my friends.